All right. So I know at this point you're like, okay, cool. We know all about menstrual cycle here. However, like mine is MIA, or, maybe for you, yours is just like extremely irregular and you're really ready to like dive in and make a difference. So let's chat about some things that you can be doing to support your body to either bring back your period or to really like regulate out your cycle. Obviously, we've already talked about cycle syncing and seed cycling. Definitely should be doing those. But let's do a little assignment first here, okay? So I want you to get out a pen and paper or, the note section of your phone and answer these for me. Number one, why is your period so important to you in this season of life? So currently, where you're at right now in life, why is it so important for you either to bring back your period or to regulate that out? And only you can answer that. So I want you to answer that for yourself. You may need to like hit pause here and answer that, but I don't want to just like sit here awkwardly. So hit pause if you need to. The second question is, what are you currently doing to help your body have a period? And list that out. And if you're like, dude, nothing, that's totally fine. But if you are doing things, I want you to list those out. Okay. And the third question is what happens if your period doesn't return or if it doesn't, get regular? What does that mean for you? Like, what are the consequences there if it doesn't return? Okay. So you've got those responses. Again, you may need to hit pause and like actually answer those, and that's fine. I want you to hold on to those for a minute. Okay. So, number one thing that you can be doing to really help your body, again, either bring back your period or to help it get regular, is to reduce sugar and caffeine intake. So, your blood sugar levels are directly tied to insulin. And when insulin is out of whack, it causes this like domino effect in your body and negatively impacts other hormones like cortisol, DHEA, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, aka all the hormones that we need to be balanced and functioning properly, and working in harmony in order to have a period. So when these get too high or too low, no period, right? But it's also going to affect your metabolism, your energy levels, weight, mental clarity, your mood. Notice any of those like being off recently, or if you can kind of think back to the last time that like maybe your energy levels were just like really low or your mood was really off, start kind of paying attention to when those things happen, when you get super moody, when you have brain fog, etc., and start to notice like, have you been consuming more sugar and caffeine than normal, right? And these two very quickly kind of turn into this like vicious cycle because it triggers your brain that like, hey, I need more of that to function properly. Like when that afternoon slump hits, your brain says, oh yeah, just grab the sugar and the caffeine, like that'll help. But in reality, we want our body to live in like a stable environment, right? To not have these highs and lows. Will it happen sometimes? Of course, right? Like you are human living a real life. So sometimes it's going to happen. But more than not, we want to aim for stable across our days. And so we want our body to start signaling us of like, hey, like you're getting tired because you haven't moved in a while, like go move your body versus just grab all that sugar and caffeine. Or, like you want to start hearing your body say, hey, like I would love some vegetables right now. Like, ooh, a big salad with like lots of color and some protein would make me feel great versus telling you, get more sugar, get more sugar, get more sugar. Okay. So, some simple changes that you can start to make because you know by now that I am not about doing like a complete 180 in your life, because then that just leads to the whole like, I can't have caffeine ever again mindset. And then guess what? All you think about is caffeine 24/7. And it's a slippery slope of this like, no, no, no. And then a binge hardcore. And then it's a beat yourself up. And it's just, like I said, it's a slippery slope. So again, it's not that you have to do a complete 180 here or that you can never have caffeine or sugar or anything like that again, right? So instead, you want to aim for slow changes over time And remember, as with everything, like you are in control here. So you're going to choose how fast or slow you implement changes, but tough love for you. You got to implement some changes, right? Because what you've done up until now is not working, right? If you don't have a period, what you're currently doing isn't working. And if your period is extremely irregular, it's not working. Now, of course, if you've just recently started something within the last like 30 to 60, even 90 days, you just started some supplements, you just started making some changes, it's going to take time to see those things. But I'm talking about if you look like back at the last like 6 to 9 months to a year, what you've been doing isn't working. So you have to implement change, okay? Tough love. Okay, now that we got that out of the way. So you want to avoid caffeine on an empty stomach, meaning don't wake up and immediately have your cup of coffee. Caffeine on an empty stomach is actually going to spike your blood sugar levels. Instead, you want to aim for food first, or even just like a snack. Then you can have your caffeine, whether that's coffee, pre-workout, whatever your caffeine source is that if you typically turn to that in the morning. And this goes for like the middle of the day too. Don't just grab caffeine because, oh, I'm feeling tired and I need to make it through. I need this coffee. Fine if you want to have the coffee or the caffeine, the soda, whatever you're choosing, but put something else in your body first so that your body can like better handle and process that caffeine. But again, I think it's important to look at, what does your current caffeine consumption look like? Are you having 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day? Do you drink 7 sodas a day? And you don't get to say, well, I only drink one, but it's a 64 ounce like Polar Pop, whatever, right? So ask yourself, like, what does my caffeine consumption currently look like? And where can I start to make some changes on that? Again, I'm not telling you to go from 100 down to 0, but where can you start to make some changes there? And again, really focus on, I get it. Like some people are like die hard, I love my coffee, I don't want to give up my coffee. I'm not telling you that you have to give up your coffee, but make a simple shift of put some food in your system first, then have your coffee. Is going to make a big difference in your body. And whenever your body's not having to work so hard on your glucose and your insulin and managing those spikes and the ups and downs and everything, well, then it can focus on all your other hormones, right? And so that's on caffeine, okay? Reducing sugars can be done in many ways, obviously. If you add sugar to like tea or coffee, start adding a little less each time. Start reading ingredients labels and like really comparing items in the store. Yes, your shopping trips in the beginning are going to take a little bit longer to compare items, but once you know, like, hey, this is the brand that has the less sugar, like this is the brand of sauce I like, the brand of peanut butter, the whatever, then it's done and it's much quicker. But at first, for you to sit there and compare different products and their ingredients labels and everything, yes, it's going to take some extra time, but that extra time is going to pay off. So really paying attention to things like pasta sauces, dressings, salsas have sugars in them. And again, the goal is not always that every single thing you're going to put into your body is 0 sugar. But if you're looking at 2 things and, well, one has 20 grams of sugar and one has 8 grams of sugar, we're going to choose the 8 grams. But a lot of things, again, like your sauces and your condiments and stuff, will have sugars added when, like, does your spaghetti sauce really need sugar? No, it does not. So you can find things that don't have sugar like listed in the ingredients. If you're a juice drinker, really study those bad boys because a lot of sugar can happen there. And you want to pay attention to, is it added sugar or is it like naturally occurring sugars? But still, even in juices, you've got to be careful because they'll put a ton of fruit in there, which you're like, well, it's from fruit and that is fine, but like, would you sit down and eat like a whole apple and a thing of blueberries and a thing of strawberries and a banana and? Probably not. So pay attention to those like juices. And, if you go places and you like to order smoothies, a lot of times, they may really be packaged as like this health thing, right? Because it's made with fruits and vegetables, but you really want to pay attention to like how much sugar is like loaded up in there. So really just pay attention to those things, with juices, maybe even consider like making your own. Might be something that you want to look into there. So, and of course, now I know you're like, well, oh my God, like fruit has sugar. That's okay. Okay, you don't need to avoid fruit. Fruit has really great vitamins and nutrients, right? That like your body needs. But you don't want to just eat fruit alone, like by itself. You want to pair it with fat or protein to help your body like process that sugar better. So for instance, like an apple and peanut butter, have some berries with like a cheese stick or nuts and seeds, etc. Okay. Also, reducing alcohol. I know I said just like sugar and caffeine, but I feel like alcohol kind of like needs to be mentioned here too. So reducing your alcohol consumption. I know it is really easy to unwind, de-stress, have fun with friends on the weekend with alcohol, but alcohol affects your hormones. And obviously, like it affects your liver. You probably know that, right? But alcohol also directly affects your blood sugar levels, which I think you can tell by now is really important to pay attention to. And since your liver plays a primary role in the regulation of glucose in the body, starting to eliminate that is going to really help your body. So alcohol can also impact the endocrine system. So that's the network of glands that produce your hormones, which can also alter cortisol levels, estrogen levels, and your progesterone levels. So, again, depending on how much you're currently consuming, it may mean cutting back on that or just cutting it out altogether, especially if you are really focused on like getting your period back and trying to conceive. I would consider eliminating it for a while, but again, you're in control of that. You get to choose. And, maybe alcohol is really reserved for special occasions and things like that. Okay. So that was number one. That was a lot, but reducing caffeine, sugar, alcohol. Okay. Number two thing that you can do, foods. Okay. Focusing on more like real whole foods and less processed foods. So we're going to have a guest speaker that is a dietitian, and she's obviously going to have a whole lot to say on food. So I'm going to leave that for her. Definitely bring any questions you have specifically about food to that call. But our bodies have a hard time breaking down and using processed foods. So an easy way to just like make this change is aim for more like real whole foods, meaning like fruits, veggies, fats, like things that are grown in the ground or like live here on earth versus boxed and frozen foods. So again, kind of take inventory on where you're currently at with this. And if you've never kept a food log, I'm going to highly encourage you to take just a day or two and write down everything that you eat. Don't make changes yet. Just write down everything you eat, even if it's, a snack. Oh, I had a handful of this. I grabbed this at work, whatever it may be. Take a day or two and just keep a food log. Write down everything you eat and you drink, because then you can really start to see like what is your percentage of kind of like packaged processed foods versus what is like whole and real. And then the goal is start to make shifts. So, if you're currently at kind of like this 50-50, okay, great. Then your first goal is to shift 60-40. So 60% of your foods are more of the whole, real, coming from the earth foods versus your like packaged and processed foods. If you're currently at 70-30, awesome, then you're going to aim for 80-20. You see what I'm saying there? So again, it's not that you have to do this complete 180, that you can never eat something from a box again, you can never eat a packaged food again, but really allowing our body's digestive system to work less means as your hormones are trying to balance out, like all of your body's hard work can go there. And like our body just has a really hard time, like again, recognizing those like packaged and processed foods, because our bodies, if we think back, to like caveman day, like how they were designed for way back when, our bodies still operate that way. And so they can handle, again, your fruits and your vegetables and your legumes, your beans, your rice, all these things that are grown from the earth so much better and can break them down and process them and really use them to their benefits versus whenever we put something that was made in a lab in our body kind of starts to like freak out and is like, what the hell did you just put in me? Like, I don't know what to do with this. So, like when you're at the grocery store, it's really smart to try to shop the outside of the grocery store versus the inner aisles. Again, there are things in the inner aisles too that are healthy and you can make healthier choices, going back to that, reading the ingredients label, paying attention to sugars. So it's fine to get stuff from the middle aisles, but most of your cart should be filled with what's on the outside rim. So again, that's like your produce, your meats, your eggs, dairy products. You kind of want to stay in there for most of your food and then trickle into those inner aisles. So hopefully that makes sense. But also with foods, paying attention and really trying to get in anti-inflammatory foods are really huge to add into your diet. So I'm going to attach a list of those and like just make it a goal for yourself to have at least one thing off of that list every day. Because again, if we can reduce the inflammation in our body, then our hormones get to start working properly. So, whenever you were figuring out your PCOS type, the most common ones are the inflammatory and the insulin resistant. And a lot of the changes in both of those like will only fuel and feed the other one, if that makes sense. So don't think like, oh, well, I have insulin resistance, so it doesn't matter about anti-inflammatory foods. Reducing inflammation in your body is going to help your body, regardless if you have inflammatory PCOS type and vice versa. So when we were talking about the sugar and the caffeine, glucose and insulin and all of that, don't be like, well, I don't have insulin resistant PCOS, so like that doesn't matter for me. Yes, it does. They go like hand in hand, and what we do for one is going to help the other. So these are important no matter your type of PCOS. I hope that makes sense. Okay, number 3 here, supplements. There are absolutely supplements that you can take to help your hormones and to help bring your period back, or again, like regulate it out. I'm not going to sit here and talk through all of them. Again, there's going to be a resource that is attached, so check that out. I've listed supplements and kind of like what it does or what it can aid with so that you can really make that informed decision on which one that you want to start with or either add into what you're already taking. There's also like an Amazon kind of like shopping list where I added supplements that either I did take or the ones that I would take. So you can definitely go there, or obviously you're free to do your own research comparison. Get on Google and search those supplements as well. But I did have that there for you, as well as some different like PCOS brand specific kind of supplements that maybe you want to look into. But supplementation is obviously huge. And the great thing about supplements versus like medication is that the supplements that you're going to see on that list are again like minerals and things like from our earth. They are like real things versus medication a lot of time is made in the lab. And we already talked about what happens when our body like doesn't fully know like what to do with things made in a lab. So again, you make the most informed decision on the supplements that you feel are best. You could obviously also bring those up to your doctor or your naturopath or whoever, you're also working with on like the medical side of things. You could definitely ask them their suggestion on these supplements, what they think about them and all of that. Okay. Number 4. Okay. We're wrapping up here. Returning to the answers that you wrote down at the beginning of the call. And if you didn't have time to like hit pause, maybe you're listening to this as you were driving, you're getting ready for work, you're like, yeah, whatever, I'll do that later. I want you to truly answer these before you listen to the rest of this. Okay. So you may need to come back to it, and that's okay. Come back to it. Make sure you do that. But the questions were, why is your period so important to you in this season of life? What are you currently doing to help your body have a period? And what happens what happens if your period doesn't return? If your body doesn't return, it's a little bit of an issue. But what happens if your period doesn't return? Okay. Make sure you get those answered. So when you answered the first one, Was it this like easy kind of blanket statement of like, well, I know my body should have one? Or was it deep and meaningful? Did it bring up feelings and emotions when you thought about why it's so important and what happens if it doesn't return? Because getting crystal clear on why your period is so important and the consequences of what it will cost you if you don't get it back becomes your driving force. Because here's the thing, life is going to happen. Stress will show up. Chaos is inevitable. You don't live in this bubble, right? Where you can just like put your life on hold as you try to reclaim your period. So you have to have a driving force when life happens and wants to derail you as you are working on this. Because yes, it is work. You don't get to just say, like, okay, period, come back now. And this like magic little genie makes it happen. It's going to take you making changes and sacrifices. And only you can decide how important that is to you. And here's the thing, some people are fueled by like the positive side of things and knowing like why your period is so important is your driving force. While other people, and there's nothing wrong with either one of these, it's really knowing what drives you. Other people are fueled by the negatives or the consequences, which is why I had you answer both of those, right? Why you want it and what happens if it doesn't come back or get regular. Because you have to decide which one is going to fuel you on the hard days. When a month or two, you haven't seen or felt any difference yet. Are you going to throw in the towel and just say F it all? Because guess what? You don't get to make a change for just like a day or even a week. This may take you 6 to 9+ months of changes for your body to start functioning properly again. Just like you don't do one sit up and have abs or eat one salad and lose 10 pounds, getting your period to return or become regular takes time. So the fourth thing that you can do to get your period back or to help your body regulate out is to have patience and to remind yourself constantly why you are making these changes. And, I had you list out, what are you currently doing? Because I want you to celebrate that. And I want you to be proud of that you're already starting to make those changes. That's a really big freaking deal. You didn't just say, well, I want my period back. I'm going to keep living my life and, maybe it'll come back. If you're already doing things, that's amazing. Now you get to add on to that. Like, take a moment and be proud of yourself. Celebrate yourself. Like, give yourself a freaking pat on the back, clap for yourself, stand up and shout, hooray, that you're already making changes. I wanted you to see that like, hey, okay, actually I am already trying to do some things. Like, okay, I'm taking the right steps. I'm doing the right thing. So like, be proud of that and really like pay attention to what it is that you're already doing. But I would highly encourage you to start journaling, having some affirmations, meditation, if that's your jam, like whatever your jam may be, right? You need to figure out what that is, and it may take you trying it and seeing what it is. But like daily doing these things on why you're making these changes. Start envisioning how it's going to feel to have like a natural period, how proud you will be of your hard work, etc. Just spending 3 to 5 minutes each day doing this kind of mental work will make a world of difference. And I know you've heard me say this before, but your body really responds to what your mind constantly thinks and says. So if you keep living in this, my body hates me, I'll never have a period again, I'll never get pregnant, etc., well, look at where that's gotten you. Okay. And on the really hard days, again, when life shows up, when you just want to throw in the towel, when you're like, F it, I don't want to eat this, I don't want to take this supplement, I don't want to exercise, I don't. On those really hard days, because they're going to show up, because it's life. Having this mental work here for you is going to help you with that. So even if you're like, I don't even have time to sit down for 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, well, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, you sit on the toilet, use those times to run through your head and remind yourself of what you're doing. That's why affirmations can be so powerful, because then you don't have to sit down and write for journaling. You can have them written out. You can record yourself saying the affirmations and listen to them. That's also like really beneficial, for it to be like in your own voice. It's really easy. Of course, you could listen to like a podcast or something on PCOS or that has affirmations or whatever, but like it coming from you in your words of why your period is so important to you, why you need it, why you're doing what you're doing, all those things that we've talked about. Hearing yourself say those things is really, really freaking powerful. And I know you may be like, no, I'm not doing it. Nope, nope, nope. But I want you to be open to it and just try it out, okay? And again, we've already covered the seed cycling, the cycle syncing. If you don't have a period with your workouts, remember you're going to stay in like the luteal and menstrual phase kind of recommendations for exercise. But those things too are helping your body with your hormones and get your period back. So, revisit that if you need to. And we're going to dive deeper into stress relief because that is a big piece of this puzzle too. And I've got a few other things that you can do or really stop doing to help your body too. So like we're going to talk about those next, but I wanted you to have some like tangible things that you can start doing today or, possibly maybe like next week if you need to like go buy foods or order supplements or whatever. But I really wanted you to have some tangible things that you can start doing. That again, sure, you're not going to feel them immediately, but I am telling you that like research has shown it. Like women have followed this and done it. Hi, like if you need a success story, I am here. Again, it took me 285 days to have a period. Now I will say, so like my period, just to give you a quick insight again, my period was missing from January to May. I got married in May of COVID year. Craziness, I know. And so I obviously in that time frame, like didn't know I had PCOS. I was actually thankful to not have a period. So I wasn't super worried about it until it was like, oh shit, I'm getting married and we're ready to start a family. And then I started researching and doing things. So I would say like June was when I was like, what's going on? Like started researching on my own, meeting a naturopath, all that stuff. And so it took from June of again, making changes, adding in supplements, doing some of the other things that we're going to talk about. From June to October was when I finally got my period without any like medication. So June, July, August, September, October. So it took 5 months. So again, it's not like a one-time thing. It's not, okay, I'm going to do this month and it's going to change next month. It really takes your body, I think it's like 90 to 120 days to like what you're doing now, and 90 and 120 days is going to affect your egg. So like that kind of gives you a time frame there of like what it's going to take. So again, start doing these things, and know that you may not feel it overnight. It may not be like, okay, I started this today and I expect my period next month. It may take you longer than that. It may not, depending on again what you answered there for what you're already doing to support your body and to bring your period back and how long you've been doing those things. But it is really crucial for you to get crystal clear on why this is so important to you. And what are the consequences if you don't keep it a priority, if you don't keep that in the forefront of how important it is for you? And I would love to dive deeper into those things with you. If you're having like a really big like mental hang up, let's schedule a one-on-one and let's dive deeper into those things specifically, because your mental game plays so much into this. Like, yes, that your body like hears it and responds to it. But again, having that like mental armor, that strong mental game is needed, because again, this does take time. It's not a quick turnaround. It's not a quick feeling, a quick change. And so really being able to mentally prepare yourself for that and handle that and be like armed and ready for the hard days is going to make all the difference. hormones. Okay. If you have any questions on any of that, as always, reach out, ask, check the resources section for those resources that I promised you. And again, if you have any questions on those, just reach out and ask.